Hello, Mr. Hosman. How can I help you?
So I wanted to join your loyalty program, but it says right here you want my address, phone number, social security number, favorite type of taco, and my mother's blood type. What do I get in exchange?
A bottle of water?
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, your friendly neighborhood Glenn here, and welcome to this week's No Vacancy podcast with me, Glenn. So happy to have you guys, and remember, everything's right, so just hold tight. Welcome to the show. So before we get started, I just want to thank everybody for listening today. I've had such a great time. Man, this week has been great. I got to go down to Tampa, and aside from being able to hang out in 85-degree weather for a couple of days, I got the privilege of seeing a brand new extended stay America prototype. It's the first one that they built in 12 years, and they're really getting behind this in the terms of looking to build their franchise properties. I really enjoyed it, and it's so much fun because, you know, a lot of times I go to these events and I don't get to experience a lot of the brands that we're talking about on a day-to-day basis. So anytime I could get out there and try a brand that I haven't tried before, it's really a fantastic experience. And I really enjoyed hanging out with the Extended Stay America people. I really enjoyed experiencing the project and learning all about it. And we're going to have a great podcast with those folks next week, which I broadcast live on LinkedIn this previous week. I hope you guys saw that one. If you didn't know, don't worry. You could go check us out on LinkedIn. Just be sure to connect with me, Glenn Hausman, there on the LinkedIn, and you'll be able to catch that video or download next week's podcast. All right, this week, man, oh man, have we got a great show for you. Super stoked about this one. But before we get into that, of course, I want to remind you to reshape your expectations of what an FF&E distribution partner for hospitality should be. It's why I love my friends over at Almo Hospitality, because they're helping folks like you that operate hotels, that own hotels, that are writing the checks to put things in hotels. They are going to make your life easier, save you time, and save you money. So saving time equals money, saving money equals money, money equals money. You will be in the money. Check out Almo Hospitality because they're a division of Almo Corporation. Listen, they've got great professional AV stuff, consumer electronics, major appliances, outdoor furniture, housewares, really cool stuff out there too. I'm thinking about some of their products. They've got one where you can just, put the phone down on a charger and it wirelessly charges. They've got voice activated stuff. All of these things that are really coming to light right now, they will help you put in your hotel and do it cheaper. Yeah, I said it. All right, so boy, oh boy, have we got quite the interview show for you today. You've probably heard by now, probably seen our report online. Hilton has come out with their latest brand, Tempo by Hilton, and they are appealing towards modern achievers. And that's why I managed to corner Phil Cordell, an SVP over at Hilton, who's been around for a long time. I don't mean to insult you, Phil, by saying you've been around too long. I think Phil's been around for just the right amount of time. He's been there for decades and has really worked his way up through the company. And now he's an SVP over there and really has his hands in creating and bringing to life all of these new brands. And we're going to talk all today about Tempo by Hilton, what they're thinking about, what they're looking for, how it's all put together, all of that kind of great stuff. You're going to love that interview. Speaking of loving interviews, you're absolutely going to love one that we got coming up right now with Jay Wiendl. He's the GM of the Sonesta Resort Hilton Head Island. It's the Sonesta Resort Hilton Head Island. And I had a chance to go down there in the fall and really enjoyed it. So I said, I got to talk to this GM. Let's find out how he runs his property. Let's learn a little bit more about Hilton Head Island, because Hilton Head Island was one of those places that I'd always wanted to get to, but I never found time to actually get there, and I finally made my way to Hilton Head Island, and boy, oh boy, am I glad I did. And no, I didn't ask him what it was like to run a property called Sonesta in a place called Hilton. No, I did not do that. If you want to get your Hilton Phil, you could just listen to our Tempo. Oh, Hilton Phil Cordell. Just listen to our Hilton Phil Cordell interview coming up after the commercial break, and a great word from our friends over at Red Roof. All right, so listen, guys, if you haven't joined the hotel industry content revolution over here, yeah, I called it a revolution Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Just text the word hotel to 66866 and get our Sunday night newsletter. That's the word hotel to 66866. And of course, check out novacancynews.com. Follow us on LinkedIn, like our Facebook page, all of these things to help bring us more together. And please check out all of our series of LinkedIn live shows that we're doing. We have not figured out a regular schedule for that, and I don't know if we'll be able to figure out a regular schedule for that because of the way I travel and all of this and all that and the other thing. What are you going to do? We're going to make it work. We're going to have great conversations. We are going to be bringing you some amazing interviews live this year where you can ask questions of the most amazing, incredible, fantastic people in the hospitality industry. Man, oh man, this has been wonderful. Well, now I'm on my way because you've got to hear these two great interviews coming up. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the No Vacancy Podcast. And we are back. All right, so I'm with with General Manager Jay Wiendl, and he's down there at the Sonesta Resort, Hilton Head Island. I'm stoked to speak with him because I finally got a chance after all these years and years and years to get down to Hilton Head Island. I got a chance to stay with Jay, and I'm like, I got to get this guy in the show because I had such a fun time staying at his property. Jay, how you doing, man?
Doing great. Good to see you again, Glenn.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I'm really glad that we're having a chance to speak today. I got to tell you, one of the things that I like most in my job is getting to go to new cities. And sadly, I very rarely get to do it. Typically, it's like, no, Glenn, you're going back to Las Vegas. You're going back to Orlando. You don't get to go to all of those fun different places. But I finally did because the good folks at Alamo Hospitality held their annual conference, and I got a chance to speak there and come on down to you. So first, I got to say, Hilton Head Island, pretty cool place, man.
Hey, it's a great place. Been here about 7.5 years, and love the Low Country. It's a great island.
Right, yeah, and one thing I seem to have noticed, it seems to be a bastion for golfers, a place for people that love to be on the water, and definitively upscale as well.
Well, for sure, and the island was actually named #1 island in the continental U.S. by Travel and Leisure for the last 4 years.
Wow.
Condé Nast the last 3 years. So it gets a lot of recognition, and you're right. The water activities are fantastic, whether it's kayaking and paddle boarding and dolphin tours. I mean, fishing. It's all great.
Yep. Speaking of fishing, I got to do some fishing while I was there, which was really, really awesome. We were on a small fishing boat with just like 4 people, so it was really small. It was really intimate. It was really fun, and I was really excited about the fish that I caught until I realized that it was just the bait that was on my hook. I did not do so well, Jay. I'm not a fisherman at all.
Well, hopefully it was a big piece of bait.
It wasn't. And you know what? I still went back, and you know how that story goes. It started off this big, and then I got that big, and then I got really, really, really big from there. I also don't play golf, so I'm not really sure what I get out of Hilton Head Island, but I got to tell you, I loved it anyway.
Listen, we've got great restaurants on the island. We've got, obviously we're a 4-diamond resort.
Yep.
We can entertain you for days and days. In the height of season, I've got 5 outlets that are open and some killer activities. I mean, for kids and families, couples, you name it. So, but tennis, I mean, we're basically attached to 20 Harclay True Courts.
Right.
With Vandermeer Tennis right next door. We've got 27 holes of golf here in the Shipyard Plantation. And frankly, there's about 24 unbelievable golf courses on the island. Always something to do.
There is definitely always something to do. And though I was busy at the event speaking, I did get a chance to enjoy your property. I love that it's right up there on the ocean, and you've got some great outdoor space as well. But you're also one of the more high-end products on the particular island, correct?
We are. We've got some great other items that actually lend to our resort. Our service levels are certainly top notch. We're actually regarded on TripAdvisor as the #1 beachfront hotel destination in the state of South Carolina.
Holy cow!
So our service really sets us above the others, but we we've got great amenities too. Our Aram Spa is fantastic. I mean, you can go in there and get a nice wrap and and massage and hot rock, heat rock service. I mean, you name it, we can take care of you.
Yeah, I'm loving it. But all right, so how long have you been at the property?
About 7 years. I actually transferred here from our Royal Sonesta in New Orleans. So
wow.
I left the Big Easy and kind of came to Utopia here.
You came to the actual easy, because I'm sure living in New Orleans is not so easy. You got a lot of pressure there with all the music, booze, and the beignets.
It never sleeps there, I'll tell you.
That's for sure. All right, so you've been here for like 7 years. So you basically have got this place on lockdown now. So what I'm curious to talk to you about is, after all this time, how do you keep things fresh? How do you keep employees motivated? How do you keep it as if you're still trying to prove yourself? Because you've already done that if you've been there for so long.
Well, I mean, I'm always thinking ahead. I'm trying to do something new. I mean, this year alone, we added an ice cream bar, Scoops Ice Cream, and we took advantage of the buffet area that laid dormant at night, and we made an all-you-can-eat, all the toppings you want on your ice cream, and it was just great. I mean, so it's just coming up with new creative ways to do things. We've got some pretty exciting stuff on the horizon we've been working on that are pretty game-changing. We're not ready to roll them out yet, but we're getting some buy-in from our ownership.
Great.
And listen,
so we'll just call that instead of the Big Easy, the Big Teasy right there. Not a very nice thing to do to me, Jay.
I'm sorry, Glenn. Yeah. But we're always trying to push the next envelope. That's and that's how you keep it exciting for the staff. And when you excite the staff, the guests, are happy, right?
Yeah. All right. So how do you recognize then that there are elements of the property that might have gotten stale and it's time to refresh it and reinvigorate it and make sure it's in the best positioning for your business as possible?
Sure. Listen, it starts with the right team. I mean, because while I'll see a lot, I won't see everything. So you got to have a dedicated team. And in order to get a dedicated team, you got to take care of your associates, right? I mean, you've got to know that they're part of something big and they own it. And so every one of them's empowered. I say it all the time. I mean, there's not an associate in my hotel that can't buy somebody a hotel room if things are wrong. And but they have to own it. And that's the one thing we talk about. You own it to the end. And that means problem resolution, right? And empowerment means knowledge as well as, buying power. It's really important that we take care of our associates. It's that old Marriott motto: take care of the associates, they'll take care of the guests. You do that, and the money's all come to the bottom line. So that's really been our focus. And the team does an unbelievable job. I mean, we're human. We're going to make mistakes, but at the end of the day, it's how we recover from those mistakes that I think sets the bar and sets us ahead of the others.
I got to agree with you, Jay. I mean, nobody is perfect. There's always going to be speed bumps, and it is about that recovery. In fact, I've said this many times before. Some of the best memories that I have at hotels are based in them screwing up. But that recovery was able to be so incredible that I wound up leaving that place then saying something more positive about them, I bet, than if I just had a typical experience, which in a lot of properties, not saying this is yours, let me underscore that right there, they fall into that forgettable zone, right? Yeah. Like just good enough that you had a fine stay, but you don't remember it, and then when it comes to plan that next trip, it's not going to be top of mind. So I think the question that I have with you is, because I'm sitting here now 2 months after I stayed there, it's still a top of mind property. What do you do to make sure that guests go home and actually remember the experience, especially when you have big groups like the one that we had there? You have business travelers that are traveling all the time.
Right. First and foremost, our group business is 60% repeat here,
right?
Which is fantastic. That cost of acquisition is to find new groups it costs a lot of money. So to be able to take care of our guests and our group client, especially because it starts with the group, right? You set the foundation with group business, and so that's the key to our success. Our meeting planner scores this year are 98.8%.
What?
98.8. Matter of fact, my banquet director is up for the Lodging Manager of the Year award. In about 2 weeks, we'll find out whether or not he gets it. So, so they're taking care of the client, and but we're communicating ahead of time. We're communicating once they're here. We've got a killer, texting system that everyone from our front desk can text the guests, and we ask as soon as they get to the room, how is everything? Right. So what it is if there is a problem, we learn about it ahead of time.
Right.
And if things are going great, we learn what we're doing great, and we continue that process with the rest of our guests. So, that's the key to getting back here, right? It's communication, and making sure we're providing.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
All right, hold on. Let me just re-tee that up. You could say, make sure we're providing as soon as I do that. I'm going to do 3, 2, 1, clap. 3, 2, 1.
And making sure we're providing a level of committed service to those guests and staying ahead of the challenges. But again, like we talked about earlier, when it comes time to recover, making sure we recover well.
Yeah, and that's really important. Now, back to that texting for a second. Are you using some sort of AI to drive it so that way some of the stuff might be handled and then automatically and then provided to the right people at the right time for the right solution?
For sure. It's matter of fact, it's integrated with our point of sale system basically, and it as soon as you check in, it waits 10 minutes and automatically sends you a text. But then it's personalized, right? It comes from whoever checked you in. And then if you respond, then it becomes personalized. And then midway through the stay, we don't try to kill you with a bunch of texts. We know people are on vacation. But midway through the stay, we ask, how's everything going? And it's that old saying, if it's just okay, well, okay is not good in our business, right?
Right.
If it's not great, then we want to make it great. And that gives us the opportunity to say, okay, well, how can we make it great? What can we do for you? Because we don't want you to leave an unmemorable property.
No, yeah, absolutely. And you are definitely out there being able to create those memories. But how do you figure out that right cadence in which to communicate with the guests? Because you want to accentuate their experience. You want to give them the opportunity to use your staff in order to encourage better stay. But you don't want to, like you said, be too much in their face, because then that'll detract from it. So again, this art of hospitality, it's so nuanced. How do you wend your way through that?
Listen,
it's right. I guess it's right there in your last name, but whatever.
Right. Listen, it's the 5-10 rule, basically. When we're out in the public area, we're acknowledging the guests from 10 feet away, right? When a guest wants your attention, right? Yeah. But I do challenge my team all the time to get into that 5-foot space, right? Mm-hmm. I want them to be able to ask the guests, how's everything? How are you? What are you doing today? We key in. Our high season for families would be summer, as you can imagine, and holidays. Right. We focus in on the kids too, right? I always say, I want little Sally that's running around this hotel for the next 5 years to want to get married here, right?
Right.
Down the road. So, you're just like you grow your team, you're growing your guests. And I truly believe in that. I think that the long term, and as I've been here 7 years, I'm seeing people that come back for 7 years. It's unbelievable.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that is, and I bet you there are some people that were even staying before you got there and have been coming there year after year after year.
For sure, yeah. The hotel's been here since 1982. Some have seen a couple brands here.
Right, so I think what we're ultimately talking about is building a sense of community around your property, right? You've got, you've been there a while, you've got that track record, you've got those folks that come back year after year, and you have folks that are actively participating in giving you suggestions on how they could have a greater stay. One of the other things that I think you're doing is you seem to have a very engaged social media following with over 77,000 on Facebook alone, which I got to tell you, that's a pretty good number, especially considering you're a 4-star property that seems to be geared towards older folks would be my guess, right? So explain. Yeah. I don't know how you did it. I want to know everything.
Yes. It's a big part of that's community, right?
Yeah.
And, we've been consistently named best hotels on Hilton Head Island by the our local paper, our local magazines, and that's the community that's actually helping drive those likes and being part of the community, coaching baseball and being part of all the schools, and then making sure our guests that come to us and like us, we tell them, follow us. We're going to give you deals out here. We're going to talk to you about what's going on at the resort. We're going to let you know great times to come and when we can, show you a great time. So, but it's there's certainly multiple age groups on that Facebook.
Yeah.
But
I'm just thinking about the ones paying the bills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's I've got a marketing team and partners that have helped to drive that communication, and the content's relevant, right? That's what it's about too. I mean, it's got to be something that people are going to enjoy. Otherwise, they're going to turn you off.
Could you give me an example of something that you think is relevant that goes beyond showing the lady with the rocks on her back or two people walking down the beach at sunset?
Right. Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think our guests get engaged, right? They get involved and they're helping to keep that sustainable.
Right.
But I'll give you an example. I mean, we hosted the Bachelorette here and one of the rose ceremonies out of our pavilion a couple of years ago.
Right.
And it was a fun time. I mean, obviously, you get a tremendous amount of
not
media
for some
coverage.
of the ladies.
Well, yeah, but yeah, you got a whole lot of media coverage here and for the island and the community, and that's a big part. It's about being part of the community and giving things that people are excited to see. Not just the walk on the beach, because everybody is going to walk the beach.
It is, and I feel like if I lost the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, I might want to indulge myself in some chocolate indulgence, one of your unique offerings that you have at the property. All right, what's that all about?
Yeah, so we've got this great pastry chef, Ashley, that just does an unbelievable job. I mean, whether it's taking a piece of bacon and skewering it and dipping it in chocolate and rolling it in sprinkles. And anyway, she does all these little chocolate treats. We do this sort of chocolate buffet, so to speak, in our lobby in the evening. It's so well attended. People get excited about it. Matter of fact, we had a client that came to look at our hotel and then was looking at one of our competitors the next night. So doing what we call a site visit, obviously. Yep. They left. They had to stay at the other hotel Saturday night, but they came back Saturday night for the chocolate indulgence. So that's how special it is. Yeah. By the way, we booked the business. Yeah,
that's awesome, and I'm very glad to hear that. So, what's the mix of business at the property in terms of how much leisure you get, how much meetings you get, and then I'm curious as to what types of groups that you're getting over there.
Right. So. We're still about 65% leisure travel. We're about 35% group. We'd like to see that, grow. Our high season's our high season. We're full. At the end of the day, we're going to be busy.
Well, yeah, if you got all those families there, you're not going to have room to support a meeting anyway. And if we're talking July and August, the meetings business is a little bit slower than anyhow.
That's right. Now, we do get a lot of association group though in the summer season. They travel with their families. But we're taking care of corporate business. We've got, we'll do 60 weddings here next year. And our destination weddings are beautiful. Our pavilion is when you think low country and you walk into our beachfront pavilion, you're surrounded by a lagoon on one side, the ocean and the dunes on the other. It just screams low country destination wedding. So in the fall and spring and even a little in the summer, we're actually hosting weddings out there as well. And we're making those special days come true.
Yeah, you are. Jay, in the 7 years that you've been there and you've been focusing on the meetings, how do you see how the meeting business has changed and matured over time? And let me preface it by saying, I think you guys are a little bit different than being in an urban location, because my hunch is you've always had fishing and golf and some of these outdoor activities is an integral part of meetings. So if you could pull it all together in something pretty clean and concise, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So, listen, I think Hilton Head Island, while it's a brand that's been around forever, I mean, you can never talk too much about your brand, right? And making sure that we're getting out there in front of the meeting planner and saying, listen, we're your East Coast destination as an island. Working as an island together, I think is important. you're still doing the old reliables. You're hosting the fans. We've got the great RBC Heritage golf tournament every year. We host a dozen clients for that. I mean, that represents, it could be anywhere north of $4 million worth of business that are representing. And all we're doing is we're going down and we're showing them a good time watching golf, sitting on the 18th green of Harbor Town, overlooking, the Port Royal Sound, or the Calabogie Sound. It's just incredible. And, we're
you didn't even mention that the glasses of wine are scotch that they're holding. So,
Well, that time of year, it could be bourbon too,
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, you are relatively close to Kentucky, well, compared to California, that is. So I think that's really super interesting to me, all these different events that you cater to. But when you do have more of a traditional meeting, how do you think those are starting to change? And perhaps how are you able to adapt to make sure that you're always ahead of the trends and therefore getting your share of the business that you want to start boosting up there?
Sure. Well, I obviously we're staying relevant when it comes to reading up on what everybody's doing, but we want to do it better, as you can imagine. You've seen some associations that have fallen off a little bit, but I mean, geez, we've seen some associations that have grown and to the point that they're outgrowing us. So, and the great thing about having a large base of association, they're going to meet, right? I mean, a corporate group can cancel and and a couple of years out when you're booking. We're still booking far out. I mean, we're getting leads into 2023. And so, I'll tell you, and there seems to be a renewed confidence as of recent, obviously, and we're seeing the leads pick up at a time of year when leads aren't normally there.
Yeah, that's really good. I know the reason why I keep focusing on this group business thing is so many people are focused right now on group business. I think it was the unexpected superstar of this 10-year-long uptick. People thought that was going to be going away, but no, it's more powerful than ever. Groups need to meet. They, frankly, want to meet. It's really great for everybody involved, and hotels like yours are definitely the great benefit of it. All right, so before we wrap up here today,
sure,
what is it that we need to know about your resort and what makes it the best one to stay at on Hilton Head Island?
Well, Glenn, I appreciate you asking. I mean, we've spent a lot of time talking about group and, our guest scores and our meeting planner scores. Those don't come by accident, right? But our guest scores are best in class as well. And it's because, like I said, every one of our associates takes care of our guests. We've got 340 rooms. We sit on one of the most beautiful beaches in the country, the number one island in the U.S. on multiple different venues promoting us. We've got new lift coming to Hilton Head Island all the time. We just added 3 flights from Atlanta daily to the island. Savannah International Airport, I'll tell you, it's 45 miles away, but it's this small, quaint airport that, from gate to resort is an hour. So it's quick and it's easy to get to. It's for the outdoors person. Come stay in a 4-diamond resort, go fishing and kayaking. And if you don't want to go outside, come to Aram Spa. Hope and her team up there, they'll give you a nice wrap or a sensory journey massage. I mean, and bring the kids. And by the way, bring the kids, go sit at the bar in Bailey's, the number one hotel bar on the island.
Yeah, baby.
Go sit at the bar and let our staff take care of the kids in our Just Us Kids programs. We'll run them around out on the beach. We'll take them down and feed the turtles. I mean, we'll entertain them as well. So whether you're a family, a couple, we've got something for all of you. And certainly feel free to bring any of those group leads that you'd like. We enjoyed taking care of the group you were with when you were here, when you and I got to speak. And I'll tell you, and even now, the holidays, I mean, it was almost 70 degrees yesterday here.
All right. Now you're getting a little too crazy here, Jay.
I mean, hey, JetBlue's got that flight right out of JFK up there for you. You can get down here and golf tomorrow.
I didn't even realize that they had a direct flight because I'm with another airline. So I actually came to the Hilton Head Airport, which Triple H, by the way, and I had to go through Atlanta in order to do that. I arrive at the hotel, and boy, oh boy, am I a dummy, because everyone told me how they all flew in through Savannah and then rented a car. Would have been much quicker for me. Probably would have been less expensive for me. Oh, well, I win the Dummy of the Year award. But someone who's not winning that award is Mr. Jay Wiendl. And Jay, now before we go, I want to know one last thing. Yeah. How do you keep yourself sharp as a general manager to make sure that you're always up to date on the latest practice? And no, I'm not looking for a shameless, plug for the No Vacancy podcast over here. But how do you do it?
Well, and to be honest, I do watch a lot of your videos. You stole it from me. Listen, I
was trying to pat myself on the back for the end of the year.
You got it. If I could reach out and do it. I got to be honest. I believe that I work for a company that allows us to succeed, encourages us to go above and beyond. I work with a great group of general managers that we are constantly pushing off of each other, trying to get one step ahead on the rung. And so it's just it's a great company. It's a growing company, and it allows us to be a little entrepreneuristic in the way we look at things and be part of the growth of the company. And it allows us that opportunity to just stay ahead of the curve.
And I think Sonesta's done a great job since Carlos Flores came on as the CEO a few years ago. And I bet you in the end, it's made your job a little bit easier, because I think the Sonesta brand profile has increased. The portfolio has most definitely increased, especially with the suites product. So, good for you guys over there.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. I joined the company 9 years ago. We had 3 hotels in the U.S., and it's quite a different game.
Wow.
It's exciting to see you grow. Yeah.
Sure is. You're one of the OGs for Sonesta. All right. Jay, you've been through the gauntlet with me, and you have earned yourself a right for a good shameless plug. So pitch yourself, pitch the hotel, pitch Sonesta. I don't know. Pitch your mom's favorite recipe, whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you're looking to come to the southeast of the country, Sonesta Resort is a destination that you can't miss. I mean, we've been awarded Best Resorts of the South by Condé Nast. We are TripAdvisor's #1 beachfront hotel in the state of South Carolina. So that's the leisure guests voting for us. And if you're bringing your group to the area, 98.8% year to date meeting planner satisfaction. We've got our spa. We've got our restaurants. We've got a place. You got me?
No, hold on one second. I need you to do it from, we've got our spas and restaurants. The internet froze up. I'm going to do the clap thing again. In 3, 2, 1.
We've got our spas, we've got our restaurants, and we've got something for everyone. So bring the kids, come as a couple, come play tennis, come play golf, go kayaking, or just relax by our pool. It's heated year round, or not year round in the winter. So right now it's about 84 degrees out there in that pool, so we can take care of you. And frankly, it was 70 degrees yesterday and sunny. So anybody up there struggling through some of that snow, come on down.
Great. And I would love to get back down there again. I had a great time in the hotel. Did indeed pass my big test where I tried to make eye contact with the housekeeping staff, and they all looked at me. They all acknowledged me. And I know that is the key to a great hotel. I want to thank Jay Wiendl for being here. And I want to thank all of you guys for continuing to tune into the No Vacancy podcast. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, find us on Apple, iTunes, find us on Google Play, find us wherever the best podcasts are found, and the junkie ones too. And we'll be there right with them. All right, we'll be right back after this commercial break with another great interview. And I want to thank Jay again for being here. I want to thank all of you guys for being such loyal listeners, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for sticking around after the commercial break. Bye-bye.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. And listen, for nearly 50 years, that's incredible, nearly 50 years, Red Roof has been proven that value and quality can exist on the same piece of real estate. And that's true across every Red Roof offering. Right off the bat, Red Roof Inn can boast some of the highest RevPARs in its segment and has been number one in online reviews 9 years running. While Red Roof Plus is the brand extension that created the upscale economy market and is having a dramatic impact on owners' financial results. And I know this, guys. I've interviewed some of these owners and they love this product. Then, of course, there's Red Collection, a group of upper mid-scale, unique city-centric hotels inspired by each area's vibe and cultures. You know how essential that is, right? And it is going to help franchisees with the opportunity to affordably invest in new markets. And for those looking to get into the explosively fast growing extended stay market, you know, that trend that I keep talking about for the last few years, why aren't you in on it yet? Well, get in on it now, because you've got hometown studios and the chance to gain all the perks of doing business with Red Roof. In fact, from upscale economy to extended stay to city-centric in 2020, you can't afford to ignore Red Roof. Get that ball rolling and call Matt Hostetler. He's Red Roof Senior VP of Development and Franchising. You know that. You see him at all the shows. You see him absolutely everywhere. He's a guy you want to do business with. Give him a ring at 713-576-7426 or email him at mhostetler@redroof.com. That's MHOSTETLER @redroof.com. Happy 2020, everyone. Hey everybody, welcome back to the No Vacancy Podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman, and boy, am I excited today. You're probably saying, Glenn, you're always excited. What's the big deal today? Well, today, I have the honor, the distinct honor, the pleasure, I don't know, lots of other great superlatives, because I get to speak with Mr. Phil Cordell, who these days is SVP and Global Head of New Brand Development with Hilton. And we're going to be talking about a brand new brand that they just put out, that brand new brand. That's a weird statement. Brand new brand that they just announced moments ago called Tempo by Hilton. Phil Cordell, welcome aboard. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Glenn. Awesome. How are you today? Happy 2020.
Happy 2020 to you, and congratulations. I know that this brand has been going on behind the scenes for a long time, but before we get into that, let me let's just have a little chatter for a little bit a second, because I've known you for a super long time, and it has been so much fun to watch your career as you've grown in it and you've increased positions. I think I got to know you 15, 20 years ago, maybe more.
At least. I had hair back then. I don't know. Yeah. It was a long time ago. Yeah.
I feel like we came into each other's radar when you were running Hampton back in the day, but it might have even been prior to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, make it Hampton. I mean, you've been with us. We've been all over the country, all over the good stuff.
All right, so I gotta know, what is it like in your current position being able to really take part in creating a new brand? Because I remember going back again, the reason why I mentioned those Hampton days is because you really helped transform that brand and take it up to a new level, and you've done a lot of that kind of stuff, making sure that all of your offerings are really hitting into the societal zeitgeist, so to speak. So how cool is it to be able to roll up your sleeves and then do something like this from scratch?
Glenn, it's really fun. You know, I've been with Hilton for 35 years. I started as a bellman in one of their hotels years and years and years ago.
All right, hold on. Career alert, people. Remember, this is why I'm telling you, you can start at any job in the hotel and be badass. Awesome. That's really cool.
Exactly. So I kind of grew up in operations, been with them for 35 years. And, you know, it's really fun. I've always enjoyed kind of engaging with people. You know, if we look at my Strength Finders thing, I'm a pioneer influencer. Like, come on, we don't know where we're going, but come with me and let's go. So, you know, Hilton's a great organization that if we go back, you know, a number of years, I mean, led Hampton for over 30 years, had an opportunity to lead the team that pulled together Home 2 Suites by Hilton, True by Hilton, Hampton China, where by end of next year we'll have 175 Hampton Inns open in China. Do you believe that? So kind of getting that going. So it's really cool because I have an opportunity to be kind of an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, we'll call it, I guess.
Yeah, I like
kind
that.
Of an intrapreneur within the kind of safety net of a bigger organization. So I get to kind of do some fun outside of the box stuff, but within kind of the support engine of the big Hilton engine. So it's super cool and amazing. It's really, really fun.
That's so much fun to really just get in there and play and be creative and really kind of push the boundaries without judgment of what a brand could be. You know, I kind of equate it to that term that they use with Disney, that blue sky thinking. You could put out everything on there on the boards and then just really kind of figure out what's going to work, what won't work. What does that process like for you? But maybe you should answer that question in context to the brand new brand, Tempo by Hilton, which they're calling an approachable lifestyle brand curated to serve a growing segment of modern achievers. And Phil, I think it's a great idea for a brand, but I'm still waiting for a brand for me for modern underachievers, because that'll be perfect for me.
Bada bing, bada bing. We'll work on that later.
Yeah.
Glenn, I think it's all about kind of listening and learning, being open to listen, right? Recognizing sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
That's one of my favorite sayings. I never know what I don't know. And we all, as human beings, we all have to be in a pursuit of trying to get away from not knowing. We got to be curious. We got to be inquisitive. And that's probably what got you started on this.
Yeah, no, it really is, right? So, I mean, one of the things, so it's always been about listening and learning. We all do tons of customer feedback, which we did in this case, with Tempo, over 10,000 customer interviews and interacting with them not only through questionnaires, but through some really cool D-Scout technology, a lot of focus groups, all kinds of cool stuff. Same with owners. So it's about listening. But one of the really cool things with Tempo is early on, we engaged with a group called Sylvan Labs. They're kind of an ideation organization that had never had a client in the hospitality space before.
Interesting.
So, so sometimes within the hotel industry, we kind of, we'll innovate, but sometimes it's more about tweaking than doing something kind of different. Right. So we wanted to make sure we were challenging ourselves to go, wow, is there something we're kind of missing? So in this case, we not only at the beginning with Sylvan, but with a couple other partners, we've tried to make sure we ask ourselves, do we don't know what we don't know, and how do we think different?
And I love that you're working with a company outside the hotel business, because one of the things that I've seen in our business, and again, I don't know all the details of this brand because I haven't had a chance to see it, touch it, taste it, all that kind of good stuff in terms of the visuals that you're going to be putting out there. But one of the things that I think that we are, and you kind of tipped on, is we're a little bit insular, right? We kind of do the same things. And one of the problems that I've had with the hotel industry over the last few years is everybody is doing things radically different, but they all seem to be doing it in exactly the same way. And I think that when you partner with people outside of the business, it gives you a good understanding of what you might be missing and fills in all of those gaps. And I think probably opens up a wellspring of opportunity for you to be even more creative.
Yeah, no, I mean, because Glenn, you've been around the industry for a long time, and I think it's a mixture of science and art. Right. And the science is kind of what we bring with their insights and knowledge and all that stuff. But the art comes with, okay, now what do we do different and how do we play with that, or right? And there's no formulaic way to do it, but being open is really cool. So yes, stretching thinking is very, very important.
All right. So I said that this is a approachable lifestyle brand curated to serve a growing segment of modern achievers.
That's really good. You got it.
I do. It's right here in the press release that I got. But what does that really mean? Let's talk about what people can expect and go through that customer behavior portion of it and how you're meeting the needs of that modern traveler and what makes it different, what makes it interesting, and then we can get into what'll make it grabby for the owners and operators.
All right, cool. Let's think about this a little bit differently. So Glenn, obviously early in the journey is spending time with not only owners to understand where they think there's opportunities, but with customers. Right. So we spend a lot of time with focus groups trying to understand how can we be different, who's not meeting their needs today in the hotel space, why are they not meeting the needs, et cetera. So we kind of landed on this group of what we'll call modern achievers. And they're people who are not necessarily the road warriors. They don't travel, 100 nights a year, but they do travel with frequency, 12, 15 times a year. And they're trying to be their best selves just in life in general, right? I guess you could say it maybe started as how do I find the work-life balance? How do I eat right? How do I exercise right? How I mentally take care of myself? All those things, right?
These seem like all the things that I struggle with.
I know, right? So they're looking for kind of balance in their lives. And as we spent more time with them, there wasn't a hotel brand that was really kind of trying to focus on helping them be their best when they travel. Because sometimes when they travel, they may have routines at home that can easily be disrupted when they travel, right? The nutrition's not quite right. Exercise isn't quite right. So it was this idea of how can we help them be their best self when they travel? And what can we do that how can we do that in a meaningful way? We're not a spa. We're not going to fix you, right? You're with us for a night and a half, so we can't transform you, but how can we either help you maintain your routine or even give you a little bit of boost? So that's what the brand's all about.
This is good news for me because in order for my routine not to change on the road, I've just decided to no longer exercise and just eat like crappy foods at home.
Well, that's one approach.
Yeah, that way I can say, hey, I do the same thing on the road. But that is not working for me. I'm getting older now, and I really do honestly want to take care of myself. So walk me through the brand. What can I experience as a traveler? Why am I going to say, you know what? Tempo by Hilton really understands me.
Really good. Good question. So now let's think of it. So let's go back for a second. So we talked about approachable lifestyle. What does that mean? We talked about travelers who kind of want. You think about lifestyle, a phrase we sometimes overuse in the industry. What does it really mean? Sometimes you know a lifestyle hotel when you see it. We kind of spun it around a little bit as we talked to these customers. Help me be my best. We started to think about, well, it's lifestyle, but does it help you with the style of your life?
Right.
If you think about how you travel. So kind of a play on words, but what does that mean? So
no, I think, Phil, it makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm sorry to interrupt you because I feel like lifestyle hotels have just become a catch-all phrase to really just mean like, white bed sheets and stuff like that and a nice piece of artwork. It doesn't really connect with the way that I style my life, as you were saying. So please continue.
Yeah. So, I mean, in kind of every aspect of the guest stay, let's talk about the room for a second. Early on, we talked about innovation. From the very beginning, we talked about this kind of Sylvan Labs. We actually spent some time with organizations who do nothing but customer flow. We're able to kind of monitor pace and activity. How do customers behave? Where do they walk? Where do they don't walk? What do they use? What do they don't use?
Right.
So we kind of set out, looked at probably 15 different floor plans in a guest room. How we could be creative in the space and do something different. Kind of landed on a cool idea in that we take a typical guest room, so about 310 square feet for king room, but we've kind of divided it into 3 zones. There's the bath suite, right, which is kind of an oversized shower, oversized vanity, nice vanity light illuminated for grooming, Bluetooth speaker, all that good stuff. Directly across from the bath suite is an area that's really cool. It's called the Get Ready Zone. So what we've done there is take what before could have been just a walk-through space, basically, that has a closet in it. And we've kind of reimagined that as a space that really is functional. So in that space outside of the bath suite, there's a bathroom counter, a work surface, a flat surface that's about 4 feet long with some amazing mirror above it with task lighting, ambient lighting, and a really comfortable, almost kind of rocking style chair that's next to an open closet with a refrigerator. So you have an opportunity to make that kind of your work area if you want to. It can be the area where you groom for the day if you need to. There's a nice hard surface floor there, so it can be where you kind of get in the floor on your yoga mat and exercise for the day. You can do whatever you need to do. So we've taken what was kind of underutilized space and make that really able to be activated. So the bath suite and the Get Ready Zone now combined comprise about 40% of the floor plan of a guest room.
Right.
So whereas before the bathroom might be 25 to 30%, we're at 40% that's devoted to that Get Ready and bath suite. So those are 2 zones. And then you go into the bed area. And the bed, obviously, we've tried to do the right things with the coverings and the pillows and all that stuff. We have kind of a cool headboard. Talk about it from 2 perspectives. It's kind of hugs the guest, hug, sweet, but it gives them easy access to lighting and electrical and all that stuff. So we've done that stuff right. But then as an example in the guest room in that bed zone, one of the things we've done, another one of our partners is Thrive Global. Thrive was actually founded by Ariana Huffington in New York of Huffington Post years ago. And she actually went through some personal challenges with sleep and travel and kind of decided the focus of her new imagined self was going to be on wellness and health and sleep. So we partnered with the Thrive Global organization, and actually as part of the sleep experience now, we're doing some custom video work that will create something called Power Down. So when you get ready to go to sleep, there's some sleep hygiene. Where do I put my phone? How do I kind of try to unplug? Right. But then there's some video elements that really help you think about clearing your mind, relaxing, breathing, mentally and emotionally preparing you for sleep. Right. So, and then they're helping us think about things called micro steps. What are things that you can do in like 30 seconds throughout your day to help kind of shift your thinking a little bit to improve kind of your habits? Those will come forward. So there's some cool stuff that we're trying to do, not only through physical stuff in the room, but through a little bit of mental mindset shifting, that's really gonna make a difference. So there's some really cool stuff from a product perspective. The guest room, the fuel bar. When you get ready to power up for the morning, you go downstairs. Complimentary coffee. Breakfast is paid and kind of a casual coffee.
As long as you got the coffee, that's all I care about.
Exactly. But you go down to the fuel bar, and the fuel bar has some really cool like third wave coffees and hot tea and flavor enhancers, performance enhancers. Performance enhancers. That's probably not exactly the right way to say it.
That's probably not the term you're looking for.
Energy boosters, that kind of stuff, right? So you have kind of a way to start your day and do some fun stuff. So we've tried to ensure a right mix of attributes to the things. And then, I'm all about culture, the brands I've worked with, that's a huge area of focus. So as we think about tempo, it's going to be a culture of how do you catch people in the moment and help them try to shift their mind for just a second.
Right.
You think of the times all of us walk around and we're so focused on looking at our phone. How many times you go through an airport or something, there's 100 people in front of you stopping to look and they're kind of missing the world around them. Yeah. So, we're not going to change that behavior, but how can we help customers just for a second go, why don't you stop them at 30 seconds?
Right.
And look up and think about something different other than right here, right? So we're not going to change and transform people, but man, if we can catch them and give them a 30-second boost,
right,
that's a good thing.
Yeah, I like that. So let's go back a little bit to those focus groups that you have. You're really trying to understand what are the elements that customers are going to find satisfactory. How do you cut through that clutter to put in what they really need as opposed to what they claim that they want?
That's the art part, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, because you can be driven through research to say, well, you have to have this.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you kind of have to go, well, did the customer really, is that what they really meant to say, right? Because they always want everything, but are unwilling to pay a higher rate for everything that goes with that, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of challenge your thinking. I mean, it's like something with coffee. We talked about this fuel bar, right? We're gonna try having no in-room coffee in the room. People say, "Oh, I got to have in-room coffee. I got to do my thing. I need it in the room. I got to wake up." Well, as hoteliers, I'm not sure any of us have mastered how to do great in-room coffee.
No, as a customer, you folks in aggregate have not.
So customers will say, "Well, that's really important to me." But then, as we really kind of start to go back and try to do analytics and say, does it really impact satisfaction? Does it really impact stay failure? Probably not.
Right.
So, or it does for sure. So how can we do a trade-off there and give them something in a different place? So it's kind of about listening, and then the gut kicks in sometimes, right? You just have to make decisions. You have to kind of plan for, as a backup for coffee, we're going to have an electrical outlet and a place in the room to put a coffee maker if we've messed up. But that's a bold kind of move. And we're going to do something like Coffee 911, right? If you're in your room and you got to have it and you can't come downstairs, push the emergency button and, we'll bring you some. But, you kind of, it's the art part, right? You just got to try.
Yeah. I'm good with getting, putting on the ratty clothing in the morning and going downstairs and getting myself a cup of coffee. But I just hope that the coffee cup is big enough, because certain brands that I've been to, they give you like a thimble-sized coffee, and then I'm balancing 10 cups of coffee and then trying to get back in my room, and it's not a pretty sight. So as long as we have a good-sized cup, I'm going to be good with that.
A good cup and performance enhancers, remember that. So that'll
let me tell you, I am accused of enjoying performance enhancers more than I would like, Phil Cordell. Okay, so you're trying to really redefine people, and I love their experience. And I love what you're saying is that you're not going to break consumer habits. You're just trying to nudge them a little bit in the right direction. So how does that practically play out in, for example, perhaps the public spaces? Wow.
Let's think about this, right? So we talked about, you heard me kind of talk generally about lookup. How do you kind of train people to kind of, as that translates literally, we're actually going to provide several nods, like through architecture, that encourage people to kind of look up and think of things from a different perspective, right? Like when you walk in the front door of the hotel, there'll be an architectural ribbon that's 20 feet long that it starts outside and takes you through the lobby, that once you look up actually kind of creates a piece of art that sometimes could even be kinetic art that makes you take a second and just physically look up and say, oh, wow, there's something different going on there, right? So there'll be other winks like that throughout the guest stay that kind of in a built environment encourage them to kind of, oh, wow, that's kind of cool.
And I should say a little bit of history. I think you were the one who first brought in the concept of winks with Hampton way back in the day as well.
Yeah,
which
sure.
I like, because what that did back in the time is I think it took the seriousness away, right?
Yeah.
And it made it a lot more casual and comfortable. And I have a feeling that that's kind of the same goal with this property, to set a backdrop for people to ultimately be who they feel that they are, as opposed to what the brand is dictating that they should be.
Absolutely. And you kind of have to do that it can't be too cheeky, right? People, if it's too gooey, right? But if you can do it in a way that's kind of really genuine, then I get it. That is a cool thing.
Yeah, that is a cool thing. I like it. Okay, so this is an interesting concept to me, because you are going to have food here. So how do you classify the brand? I see these brands as kind of being like what I would call quasi full service, where you have heightened amenities, but at the same time you don't have stuff like a bellman. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I guess, Glenn, I don't know if we have a word for it officially in the industry.
Well, I made it up, and I've been trying to push it for like 10, 15 years now. I'm hoping it catches on.
That could work. Quasi elevated select service. I'm the Southern guy. As I've been talking to owners, I've been saying, imagine a sports car that sits on a Chevrolet chassis, right? Kind of it looks and feels kind of more expensive than it really operates.
Right.
And so, that's been, no bellman, all that stuff. Even with food and beverage, Glenn, we started to think about, obviously it was going to be for fee, but we're using an approach that's called kind of a casual counter cafe. So streamlined menus, smoothies, breakfast burritos, some cool stuff. Guest walks up, places their order, comes back to pick it up, right? So imagine walking into kind of not a Panera Bread, but that concept where you walk in, do your thing, come back. Great experience. We're going to have a harvest table, we'll call it, in addition to that. So if a guest is in a hurry, they come down, they pay their $10, they grab off the table, and they can go. So
nice. It's
all about that mindset. And then the bar, really, it's, a hotel bar, at least in this segment, it's never the destination, right? It's a place to go have a drink before or after to relax.
Correct.
So the bar will open a little bit earlier in the afternoon. We're going to really focus on non-spirited alcoholic beverages. A lot of us some who don't drink, I do every once in a while, hotel guy, right? But for those who are really striving not to drink, sometimes they go out and they can almost feel forgotten because the non-spirited beverage could be, here's your ginger ale over ice or something, right? That's not very cool. So we think we can do some really cool spirits. There's so many things you can do now that are easy to prepare to serve an adult drink that just doesn't have to have spirits and charge an adult price, right? Obviously. Right. So we're really trying to think about food and beverages, the bookends, right? How do we take care of the utility of breakfast, but in a way that's maybe a little bit more than they expect.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, the other bookend, let's give you a choice of nice beverages. Focus on non-spirited, really small, simple tapas-style plates. They could be dinner if you combine 2 or 3, but it's not dinner really.
Right.
And allow that to do the heavy lifting.
Okay, so I love this idea, and it's the first time I've heard about that focus on non-spirited drinks, which I think is an emerging trend. And you're especially reading about it now in January as people are trying to have sober Januaries in a lot of instances. Plus, there's a huge movement out there for sobriety and for people wanting to be the best part of themselves, and that means eliminating, in a lot of instances, alcohol from their lives. And by providing folks with great drinks that, number one, they can enjoy, and number two, feel like they're still participating in that culture, I think is going to be great. And the other thing that I've noticed from what you're saying is, sure, it's not going to be a destination bar, but it is going to be the meeting place for that team that just had that meeting and they want to get together. And that food element of having maybe a few tapas and stuff like that to share plays very much into the consumer trend that we're seeing now for that shared plates and all being together and all of these things, again, I think create an aggregate, an experience where we could all do this together. Now, your food and beverage program, you worked with Elizabeth Blau and Associates. I know them. They go back a long time. They've done amazing things, and I'm saying this for the folks listening, not you, because you know this, Phil. They've done amazing things in Las Vegas. Probably the most notable one that you guys have heard of is like the Buddy V's restaurant, which is taken off at Venetian Palazzo, but also in other parts of the country. I think they've got one. She did a major project in Vancouver, designing all their food and beverage over there, and I think they're in, I want to say, the former Sands Bethlehem, which is now called Windwatch or something like that. I'm totally forgetting.
Yeah, and again, the big Indian casino, Walking Stick or something up in the Northeast. A lot of different.
Yeah. So she's really experienced with this. She's been integral to the food and beverage scene and helping create all the trends that all of you out there are enjoying, but didn't realize that she was a part of. Unless, of course, you saw her as on Iron Chef America or one of those particular types of programs. She even did a really cool program that didn't get the respect of a due, where she was an investor in hotels, and they got that. It was on CNBC in hotel restaurants. I mean, just restaurants, which was really great. So what was that experience working with that outside partner that informed you a little bit more on that food and beverage experience that your core customer would be looking to have?
Well, it's kind of cool because if we think about this segment, elevated select service, quasi, full focus, full service, whatever we want to call it.
Thank you for adapting to my term. I appreciate it.
Right, yeah. Typically it's a lot about providing a complimentary breakfast or something that's. So we have a mindset that's, it's got to look right, it's got to feel good, all that, but is it really as aspirational as it could be? And when you bring in somebody like Elizabeth, she's typically, she's all about designing food and beverage outlets that drive profit, right? It's got to have the appeal of doing that. So it's been an interesting kind of mashup as we say, what's a service? It's profit. We've got to balance it all together. But she's really brought in cool thinking about how do we think about presentation? How do we think about style? How do we think about the menu itself? We'll be embarking on a journey with her of something we're calling kind of the Chef's Collaborative, where it won't be out with a celebrity chef, right? That doesn't really mean as much. There's a whole group of kind of next wave chefs. So imagine if you have your own little cool restaurant somewhere and you got a neat idea for how to use spices or something. So on a regular basis, we'll have this Chef's Collective that represent diversity and geography and ethnicity, all those things, and helping us think about, wow, how do we take your ideas and incorporate that into the format that we need to be operationally friendly,
right,
to bring forward a beverage and a food experience that's a little bit more than you might typically expect out of corporate America, right? So again, it's recognize you don't know what you don't know. What can we learn from others that we can make work in our environment versus starting with here's what we can make work and now how do we make it the best we can.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one of the biggest food trends that we're seeing right now is not obvious. It's kind of behind the scenes. It's this whole generation of awesome chefs that have trained under all the superstars that you know there. They have trained in the best restaurants in Las Vegas and other places and are now all looking to set out on their own and do different things and adding so much more to the food culture and expanding that dialogue. And if you guys are listening and that excites you, check out an interview I did a few weeks ago on the No Vacancy podcast feed with Al Mancini, who does all of the restaurant columns with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. We talk all about that. But Phil, I want to bring it back to you folks over there. So I'm an owner. Why do I want to get involved in this particular product? What's going to turn me on as a guy that wants to have good cash flow and returns?
Wow. I mean, wow. There's so many answers to that question. First of all, let's think about that, Glenn. So there's kind of three North Stars. We've had an opportunity to develop a lot of brands. We always try to have some thoughts that kind of
at 18 now?
19. Yeah.
This would be 19 then. All right.
Yeah. So let's use the word thoughtful design. So obviously from a guest perspective, we've talked about, doing something different, but thoughtful is also, as we talked about, like in the recalibration of the guest room, bathroom's bigger. That means there's a little bit more cost there. So how do we, take the cost that we're going to incur with solid surface flooring, et cetera, in a bigger bath and trade that off with less cost somewhere else. So as we go through the entire hotel experience, we've tried to be very thoughtful in the design. So we're going to give guests something a little bit more than they expect at a cost that an owner is able to deliver from a build perspective. So thoughtful design, inspiring. As we think about our current owner base, many of them are operators, franchisees who have select service hotels with us today, who are looking for that kind of, I want to do something just a little bit different, a little bit less prototypical, tongue twister. We're kind of, as I describe Tempo to owners, we talk about it being non-prototypically prototypical, right? So how do we take pieces that are the same, make it feel like it's not the same?
Right. So a backbone, but a lot of different components that you could put in to create an individual type of a product.
Exactly. So inspiring. So they can kind of, look their own way. And then within reach, right? How do you deliver all this in the way that you've got a sports car on a Chevrolet chassis? So I think you put all those things together and it's a chance to get into a space where there are very few other brands that are at scale. So how do we kind of allow you to step in at scale within some confines, but allow you creativity, and then the build cost and the operating cost kind of all fit to help you make what you need to make. So those things all come together, I think, in a really cool way.
Yeah, and I think that it actually fits a great gap. And the more that we're talking, the more I'm getting excited about this particular type of product. Because for me, it seems to me, and you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like, hey, I've got that True. I've got that Hampton. I'm not quite ready yet for a Canopy or a Curio. This is going to let me exercise my creativity, maybe in a price point that I could afford that'll deliver me some great returns.
Absolutely. All right. It's with reach. It's kind of cool, but I can still afford to be there.
Right. So. Yeah. I really like that. And as we've seen in the larger hospitality industry, there are so many great investors and developers out there that have been moving up that food chain and products. And this is a great type of idea to really be able to nail down that next level that they're going to be going to. But, go on, Phil. Yep.
No. I mean, I was just going to build on your point there. I mean, one of the things that we're excited about, so we talked about being engaged with owners with guests since the very beginning. Obviously, we've been engaged with owners since the very first conversation where we started to talk about this concept. So because of that, we've had a group of owners who, I think all of whom, maybe except for the exception of one, have other hotels with us. And having them part of the journey has gotten them excited and pumped up. So actually, when we announce next week, we have 30 kind of actual projects and another 30 that are in the working stage. So pool of 60 projects for a brand coming out of the gates, pretty strong, right? A lot of things announced and it's a piece of paper and some renderings, which is okay. But to be able to have, 60 projects where they've said, this is a good thing. We're going to go there and commit. New York, Los Angeles, Maui, wowza. So some great.
Don't say Maui Wowie. I'm going to start thinking about those performance enhancers.
So again, we're talking about what attracts owners. Obviously, they feel good with us to this point to be able to have that kind of interest.
Right.
So
yeah, pretty awesome. And when Phil said next week, he means this week because we are actually talking in the future when this announcement is official out there. So pretty cool. But the one thing that we haven't really talked about today is that the whole idea of connecting better with consumers in regards to their desire to focus with companies that they feel are ethical and doing the right thing, be it for the environment or social impact. And I know that you folks are going to be focusing on travel with purpose by that. How is that going to be reflected within the Tempo by Hilton product?
Yeah, I mean, Glenn, that's something we're keenly aware of and focused on even more. So there's kind of the simple checklist, right? I mean, we'll be looking at single-use plastics,
right.
Other, bulk amenities in the guest rooms. As we think about this kind of self-service model of cafe, guests, we're going to ask to kind of step up to the plate a little bit and kind of do some of their own sorting of recycle versus not in the lobby. So there's some steps that we can take. We bring in the diversity of local. So, I mean, the system we already have within Hilton to help us drawing a blank. What is our environmental where we manage utilities and stuff in the room? Light stay. I need a word answer. Light touch, light stay, which allows hotels to kind of understand the electrical and utility consumption of customers and take action on that.
Right.
All kinds of cool stuff. There's more opportunities, right? That's kind of next on our list is what else can we do?
Right. Okay, that's really great. All right. I love the bulk amenities in the room, and I've not seen what you're going to be doing with them, but I'd like to offer this suggestion up to you and to everybody else out there listening, kind of like how I get frustrated with a lot of the sinks in the room where my hands have to hit the back of the porcelain in order to get the water. I have the same problem with the bulk amenities in the room. The little spouts are a little too short, and I keep butting my hand against that, and I notice it. And the great experience is when I don't notice anything. If you guys could get those spouts a little bit longer out there, amenity makers, Marietta, maybe I'm talking to you guys, whatever, then it'll be a little bit easier, and I think you'll get a higher percentage of people that are really into it. There's always going to be people that complain because that's what people do.
No, those little things make a difference, right? Those frustration points. So no, that you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Note to self, longer spouts for Glenn. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And we should know that this entire conversation was just so I could get that one point out there, Phil.
Well, and quasi-focus. We're good.
Right. Yeah. Quasi full service. All right. So, Phil, Cordell, you've been around for a long time. You got your start in the business on the property level. I'd love for you to give some advice to people before we wrap this thing up. How did you achieve what you achieved? How can others kind of follow your model of success and really do all that they possibly can in their careers?
Well, I mean, Glenn, that's a thank you for saying that. I mean, it's a humbling kind of comment. Thank you. But, I think it's simple. It's, it's always have an appetite for learning.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about how our industry specifically sometimes tweaks more than innovates. So, and look outside, listen, learn, be open. One of the things I did for a number of years as a leader, something called a trend track, where I would purposely, with a group of our leaders, kind of go out and look at what's happening in the world around us that has nothing to do with hotels, what's happening in retail, what's happening in food, what's happening in color, what's happening in music, what's happening, right? So, if there was one, it's just realize you're never done. You always need to learn. Kind of focus on understanding the importance of your brand as a leader.
Right.
As you grow, if you're a leader of one, a leader of none, because of agency relationships or or a leader of thousands, be mindful of knowing who you are, what you stand for, and making sure you kind of consistently deliver against that so people can start to understand and engender themselves to you. And then kind of have fun at what you do too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, our industry can be intense, cyclical, and all that good stuff, but you got to have the right mindset of kind of really reaching out, trying to have fun.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I wish there was a more profound secret than that, but
no,
I think it's.
Yeah, I totally get it, Phil. And I think that the advice that I would give out there to everybody is you got to keep at it. You just got to go in every single day, work as hard as you can, and try to push the boundaries of who you believe you can be. And when you're given opportunities that you're not sure you can do, I say take them. If it turns you on, take them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So any final words about Tempo by Hilton? I know that we recorded this in the past, So I don't know if you have any numbers of deals that you're rolling out with or anything like that. Any other information that I need to know that you want the listeners and viewers to know?
No, I mean, Glenn, thank you so much. I mean, it's in the hospitality business, well, it's a great industry. We go through our challenges and opportunities and ups and downs and cycles and non-cycles. But as leaders, and you've been around all of us a lot, right? It's just such an exciting industry and one that's dynamic that enables us to be charged up. So this is just another opportunity for us to kind of, as Hilton, demonstrate being charged up and trying to be forward thinking or being forward thinking.
Yeah.
So,
listen, everybody, the best thing that I ever did in my career was get out of the music and entertainment universe and find the hospitality universe. I freaking love this business because it's filled with amazing creative people such as yourself, Phil, and so many others that are doing great things. And it's like being in the Hollywood experience. You got the booze, you certainly got all of that, but you've also got a lot of people that are highly motivated and creative and super duper smart. So, Phil, any final words that you want to do? You get a shameless plug. You can promote how you can, Tempo by Hilton and sell it, baby.
Yeah. I mean, Tempo's awesome brand. I think it's always expecting the best, right?
Yep.
Expect the best. And with Tempo, we've got a best one there coming. So it's awesome.
Right. Excellent. Well, I want to thank Phil Cordell for being here. I want to thank all of you guys for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the No Vacancy podcast, I have to ask you, what are you thinking? Go ahead, go on to iTunes now and follow us. Just type in No Vacancy with Glenn Hausman. Boom, it'll be there. Check out our sister show, Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, which I do with the one and only Anthony Milcuri of Hotel Impossible. We speak to great people every single week on that particular show. I want to thank you all again for being here. Text the word hotel to 66866 to get our Sunday night newsletter, and I will be back next week with probably not a cool interview like this one, but I'll be back. That is, unless I get stuck in a hotel lobby somewhere drinking itty bitty teeny tiny cups of coffee. See you guys next time.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.